Part 1. The Working Class Roots Newton Heath. Can you believe that one of the greatest football clubs in the world might never have existed if it weren't for a group of dusty, penniless workers over 140 years ago? In 1878, amid the noise and smoke of the Lancashire and Yorkshire railway workshops in Newton Heath, Manchester, a group of underpaid, exhausted workers would gather after long shifts to play football on a dusty field. They had no proper boots, no uniforms, and not even a standard football. All they had was their passion and a desperate desire to escape the monotony of industrial life. They named themselves the Newton Heath LYR Football Club, or simply Newton Heath. This wasn't just a sports team, it was where they found friendship, belonging, and working-class dignity. On every pitch soaked with sweat and soil, they fought as if every match was for their survival. Their first games were nothing short of chaotic. They played barefoot or in work shoes. Opponents wore whatever they had. The ball was a rough leather sphere, the referee, sometimes just a neighbor or a co-worker who happened to be free. Yet with each game, their spirit burned brighter. They became addicted to the game. However, the railway executives didn't share their enthusiasm. To them, football was a distraction that hurt productivity. They saw the team as a nuisance and ordered it disbanded, but the players wouldn't give up. They sold whatever they had, pooled their wages, and sought donations to keep going. Eventually, Newton Heath broke away from the railway company, becoming an independent football club. What began as a working-class pastime was now a struggling team on the brink of history, setting off on a journey filled with hardship, hope, and relentless spirit. Part 2. Drowning in debt, a flicker of light. Sometimes, the darkest nights produce the brightest stars. But before that, Newton Heath had to drown first. As the 19th century drew to a close, the industrial age roared ahead, but Newton Heath limped along in the shadows. The separation from the railway company gave them independence, but it also stripped them of financial support. Now they had freedom, but no money, no infrastructure, and no plan. Their matches were played on barely functional pitches. The players paid their own way, and the club began accruing debt. The crowds were small, the results inconsistent, and soon the books turned red. By 1901, the situation had grown desperate. Newton Heath was buried in debt, reportedly over £2,500, a massive sum at the time. Players weren't being paid. Equipment was falling apart. Rumors of dissolution began circulating. In one of the most symbolic moments of their struggle, the club organized a 4-day fundraising event. Captain Harry Stafford, desperate to keep the club alive, took his St. Bernard dog, named Major, to the fair, hoping the sight of the friendly giant might attract donations. Fate intervened. Among the visitors was John Henry Davies, a wealthy brewery owner. Davies's daughter became enamored with Major and inquired about buying the dog. Stafford declined, but saw a chance. Instead of selling the dog, he offered a story. He spoke of Newton Heath's dream, of working-class pride, and of a football club built from the ground up. Davies, intrigued, decided to attend one of their matches. The game was raw, gritty, and emotional. The talent wasn't elite, but the heart was unmatched. Davies saw not just a club, but a cause. He saw something worth saving. Within days, he made a decision that would change football history. He would invest in Newton Heath, but only under one condition. The club had to change. This was not a simple rescue. It was a rebirth. The name Newton Heath would have to die. Part 3. The birth of Manchester United. To survive, they had to let go of their name. But to become immortal, they had to embrace a new identity. In April 1902, under the weight of failure but the spark of new hope, Newton Heath officially ceased to exist. From its ashes, a new name was born: Manchester United Football Club. The decision was far from easy. Many fans and players were attached to the old identity. The name Newton Heath carried decades of struggle, sweat, and survival. But John Henry Davies and the club's new directors believed that, if they were going to begin again, they needed a name that matched their ambition, a name that belonged to the whole city. Several names were considered. Manchester Central, Manchester Celtic. But it was Manchester United that stuck, a name that symbolized unity, rebirth, and strength. Along with the new name came a transformation. The club adopted a new kit: red shirts, white shorts, black socks. Bold, fierce, proud. The red was more than a color. It was a statement. Davies invested heavily. He cleared the debts, improved facilities, and began building a structure for sustained success. New players were brought in. Professionalism was prioritized. The club was no longer a hobby, it was a rising force. In 1903, Manchester United hired a new manager, Ernest Mangnall. Under his guidance, the team began to find form. By 1906, they had been promoted to the First Division. And in 1908, just 6 years after their rebirth, Manchester United won their first league title. That same year, they also won the Charity Shield. In 1909, they lifted their first FA Cup. It was a whirlwind transformation. The laughingstock of Manchester had become the pride of English football. Yet through all the change, one thing remained constant: the fire. Manchester United was no longer just a club, it was an idea. A testament to reinvention, to second chances, and to the power of belief. Part 4. Tasting glory for the first time. They were no longer just survivors, they were champions. And the world had to take notice. After decades of scraping by, Manchester United was finally tasting success, and it was intoxicating. 1907-08 season was a revelation. Under Ernest Mangnall's leadership, United played with a blend of tactical discipline and attacking flair that stunned opponents. Their red shirts became a symbol of fear across English football. Led by goalscorer Billy Meredith and captain Charlie Roberts, the team dominated the First Division. Their chemistry on the pitch was electric. Week after week, the crowds at Bank Street, the club's modest home ground, grew larger. Victory after victory pushed them toward history. In April 1908, Manchester United were crowned champions of England for the first time. The city erupted in celebration. Newspapers hailed the rise of a new power. Fans paraded through Manchester, waving red banners and singing songs in working-class pubs. For the players, many of whom had started in near poverty, it was a dream fulfilled. But Mangnall wasn't finished. The following year, United won the first ever Charity Shield by defeating Queen's Park Rangers. Then, in 1909, they claimed the FA Cup, defeating Bristol City 1-0 in front of 70,000 fans at Crystal Palace. It was Manchester United's first major silverware treble in just 2 seasons. They had become more than a flash of brilliance. They were building something lasting. Yet, behind the celebrations, problems were emerging. Bank Street was crumbling. The ground was overcrowded, poorly maintained, and no longer fit for a growing football giant. Davies had one final vision: a new home. Plans were drawn for a modern stadium, bigger, bolder, built to match the ambition of the club. A stadium worthy of champions. Its name? Old Trafford. Part 5. A home called Old Trafford. A team needs a heart. Manchester United needed a home. Bank Street had served its purpose, but by 1910, Manchester United had outgrown it. It was muddy, crumbling, and too small for the growing crowds. If they were to become a true force in football, they needed a stadium worthy of their ambition. With the backing of John Henry Davies, plans for a new ground began. Architect Archibald Leach, famed for designing football stadiums, was commissioned. The goal? A stadium that could hold 80,000 people. Construction began in early 1909 and completed in under a year. On the 19th of February 1910, Old Trafford officially opened. The debut match against Liverpool ended in a 4-3 defeat, but the result didn't matter. The crowd marveled at the new stands, the size of the pitch, the towering terraces. For the first time, Manchester United felt like a giant. Old Trafford wasn't just bricks and concrete. It was a symbol, a declaration that United was here to stay. But success didn't last long. Magnol, the manager who had brought glory, shockingly left to join Manchester City. United slipped into inconsistency. The team stumbled through the 1910s. Then came War. World War I devastated English football. The league was suspended. Players enlisted. Some never returned. After the war, United struggled. Finances ran dry. John Henry Davies died in 1927, and without his guidance, the club spiraled into decline. They narrowly avoided relegation. Their attendance dropped. The press mocked them. But Old Trafford stood firm, waiting. Part 6. Falling into shadows. For every great rise, there must come a fall. Manchester United was falling fast. The 1930s were a decade of pain. Manchester United faced relegation in 1931. Crowds dropped below 5,000. The club was in freefall. In 1931, a savior appeared. Businessman James W. Gibson. He injected £2,000 into the club, reviving their finances and keeping the lights on. But on the pitch, success was elusive. The team was average at best. Fans grew restless. Still, they endured. Then, in 1939, history repeated itself. Another world war. This time, Old Trafford wasn't just silent, it was shattered. In 1941, German bombs destroyed large parts of the stadium. Manchester United became nomads, sharing Main Road with bitter rivals. Manchester City. It seemed like the end. But the ashes of war would soon give rise to something legendary. Part 7. The Busby Revolution. When all hope fades, sometimes all it takes is one man to believe. In 1945, the war ended. Manchester United was a club with no home, no recent trophies, and no momentum. Then came Matt Busby, appointed manager. In 1945, Busby demanded control of the team, a revolutionary idea. He wanted to build not just a squad, but a philosophy. He emphasized youth, unity, and fast, attacking football. By 1948, United won the FA Cup. In 1952, they claimed the league title for the first time in 41 years. But Busby's greatest creation was still to come, the Busby Babes, a generation of young, homegrown talents like Duncan Edwards, Tommy Taylor, and Roger Byrne, barely in their 20s. They lit up the football world with fearless style and unmatched chemistry. In 1956 and 1957, United won back-to-back league titles. The Babes were the future, not just of United, but of football. Then came the tragedy. Part 8. The Munich disaster. In an instant, dreams can burn. Heroes can fall, but legends never die. On the 6th of February 1958, the team's plane crashed on takeoff in Munich. 23 people perished, including 8 players. The world stopped. Football mourned. Matt Busby was severely injured. Duncan Edwards fought for life but passed away days later. The Babes were gone. A generation lost, yet from the pain came resilience. Assistant manager Jimmy Murphy stepped in. The team played on. Patchwork squads finished the season. Fans sang louder. The club clung to hope. Busby returned months later, grieving but determined. He would rebuild. Not just a team but a legacy. Part 9. Glory Reborn. The 1968 triumph. 10 years after Munich, Manchester United reached for the stars and touched them. By the mid-1960s, Busby's second great team emerged. George Best, Bobby Charlton, Dennis Law, holy trinity of talent. In 1965 and 1967, United won the league, Then in 1968 came the crowning moment. Manchester United became the first English club to win the European Cup, defeating Benfica 4-1 at Wembley. 10 years after losing his team in Munich, Matt Busby stood once more as a champion. He wept. The world cheered. It was more than a trophy. It was redemption. Part 10. Legacy forever. Some clubs play for points, others for trophies. Manchester United plays for legacy. Matt Busby retired in 1969. The years that followed brought ups and downs, but the foundation was unbreakable. Manchester United would go on to inspire generations. The 1990s and 2000s would bring the era of Sir Alex Ferguson, more European glory and global dominance. But it all began with factory workers and muddy fields, with a dog named Major, with heartbreak and rebirth, with a belief that a football club could be something more. Manchester United is not just a team. It is a story. It is a symbol. It is eternal. Thanks for watching the video. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to watch other club stories.